Hello, my name is Sakshi Ahuja. I'm an assistant conservator working with Art and Material Heritage Division of INTACH, New Delhi. In this video, I'll be talking about restoration of reverse glass paintings which came in our lab in 2019 from a private collector. I would like to start with an introduction of glass paintings. Glass painting is a form of art where a piece of glass is used as the primary support for painting. These paintings incorporate innovative artistic techniques for creating an eye-catching work on front or back of the glass. By the early 5th century, traces of colored glass objects and figures were found in ancient cultures such as Byzantine, Rome, China, and throughout the Middle Ages. Like any other forms of art, glass painting was an important instrument of reflecting people's history and culture. In 12th century, during Gothic period, cathedrals across Europe showcased large and intricate glass paintings and stained glass windows, which easily captured people's attention and became a magnificent storyteller of the Bible. In other nations where glass painting was adopted, these paintings reflected symbolic and cultural figures and occurrences in a particular period. Like in India, the glass paintings depicted mythological figures and women and men in traditional clothes. There are three types of glass paintings: stained glass painting, reverse glass mirror painting, and reverse glass painting. Stained glass painting. Stained glass painting is a form of art in which the colored glass is used for making decorative windows and other objects through which light passes. Europeans used to stain the already cut and shaped glasses in metallic salts, then trace the drawing and paint the composition on the stained glass. Then the glass is fired in a kiln to permanently fuse the paint to the surface of the glass. And finally, all the pieces of the glass are stuck together with lead strips on another glass support to form the complete composition. Reverse glass mirror painting. Reverse glass mirror painting is an art form which is painted from the reverse side of the glass. The paints for these paintings are made by grinding and mixing the pigments with binders such as gum or resin. Then the paint is applied from the back in reverse order and the unpainted areas of the glass are coated with mercury, providing a mirror background to the colored images. Now I would like to talk about the reverse glass painting. Reverse glass painting is an art form which is painted from the reverse side of the glass with oil and resin or with watercolors and gum. It is a fascinating yet comparatively unknown genre of Indian art. The origin of the reverse glass painting can be traced back to Italy, from where it spread across Europe in 16th century. It was introduced into China by Jesuit missionaries in 17th and early 18th century. By mid to late 18th century, the technique was brought to India by China trade and established a market for Chinese reverse glass paintings on the west coast of India. With the expansion of British Empire, the Indian artists learned the technique and began producing reverse glass paintings for wealthy Indian aristocrats who sought to mimic the colonial officers. In late 18th and early 19th century, there was a high demand for religious paintings embellished with gems, pearls, and cut glass in southern India. These paintings came as a cheap alternative and reached a far wider audience. The reverse glass painting technique spread across western and southern India and even to former provincial Mughal capitals of Awadh and Murshidabad, as well as Rajasthan and central India to some extent. Reverse glass painting reflects scenes and characters from Indian mythology and tradition, while secular themes such as portraits of kings, nobles, courtesans, and musicians are commonly depicted. The paintings are characterized by their bold style, rich colors, and subjects portrayed in opulence. A distinct feature of reverse glass painting in India was the mixture of Indian and Western elements. These are some reverse glass paintings showing mixture of Indian and Western elements. The background shows trees and the figures in the foreground with details of costumes and intricate jewelry. The fineness of the drawing and soft palette dominated by the blues, reds and whites reflects Western influence. I would like to talk about the process of making reverse glass paintings. The term reverse glass painting describes both how the painting is executed and how it is viewed once completed. This is a laborious technique which requires good memory of the whole composition because the drawing which has to be made on the glass is drawn in such a way that it is the mirror image of the real composition, and application of the paints are done from the back in a reverse order. First step is to place a clear sheet of glass on the master drawing and then trace the finer lines and details on the glass. Any decorations like foil, paper, stones or embellishments, if used, has to be added at this stage. Then the larger areas of opaque color, usually tempera or oil paints, are applied and shading is used to achieve gradation of color. Unlike stained glass paintings, the paints are not fired and binding media is used. Here the glass sheet is both the support on reverse as well as the protection from the front. Now I would like to start with the introduction of the object. This object shows a seated lady showing a mixture of Indian and Western elements. These are the front and back images of the object before conservation. While this object shows a standing lady showing mixture of Indian and Western elements, these glass paintings were in a poor state of preservation owing mostly to material degradation. I would like to discuss about the condition of the object before conservation. There is accumulation of dust and dirt. Paint delamination which resulted in loss of paint. Such degradation of the paint layer is caused by internal or external factors such as composition of the priming coat and paint, drying mechanism, painting technique, or environmental instability. Tarnishing is a kind of discoloration in which compounds of lead, copper, and silver turns black over a period of time due to chemical changes or environmental pollution. Here the certain areas have tarnished and have turned greyish black because most probably lead white was used as an opacifier or a pigment which has oxidized. Due to the environmental factors and moisture at the back of the paintings, fungal spores and insect infestation was observed at the back of the frames, and once the paintings were removed from the frame, fungal spores were present on the reverse side of the painting, which degraded and stained the paint layer. As you can see, these paintings are severely damaged, and due to mishandling, one painting was broken horizontally and the other vertically in two pieces. So the overall condition of the paintings before conservation was very bad and fragile. Now I would like to talk about conservation of reverse glass painting. The conservation process involved treatment of both the glass support and the paint layer. The first step that was undertaken was antifungal treatment, for which the paintings and their frames were kept under indirect sunlight. After this, mechanical cleaning of both the frames and the paint layer was done using a soft flat brush to remove superficial dust and dirt. Then the paintings were removed from their frames, as the paint layer at the reverse side was to be treated. After removing the paintings from their frames, local consolidation was done using a synthetic adhesive to settle the paint layer and stop further fleeking and delamination. In order to keep the paint layer intact, test patches were done and solvent cleaning was undertaken to minimize stains. It is important to reverse the tarnishing layer to maintain the aesthetic value of the object. The layer of tarnishing was reversed by treating the paint layer with a mild oxidizing agent. This oxidizing agent converts the black lead sulfide to lead sulfate, thereby allowing the original colors to be displayed. Then the full consolidation of the paint layer was undertaken by using a synthetic adhesive. A critical issue was coming up with an ideal edge gluing treatment and reintegration of the paint layer. Before joining the broken edges, reintegration of the paint layer was carried out for easy handling. The smaller areas were retouched directly on the reverse side of the glass to match the surrounding areas, and the larger areas were reproduced on an acid-free handmade sheet. After reintegration of the paint layer, the broken edges of the paintings were aligned properly and were glued using low viscosity, fast drying epoxy resin. Then the paintings were carefully put inside the frame. A silicon coated polyester film was given as a separator between the glass and the acid-free handmade sheet on which reintegration was done. An expandable polyethylene foam sheet was placed at the back for cushioning, and then a hardboard was given at the back. Finally, the paintings were framed in their original frames, which were also restored. These are some images of before and after conservation treatment, which shows how stains and fungal spores have reduced, and reintegration of the paint layer is also done. As you can see, the broken edges of the paintings are now properly aligned and glued. The same areas displays the original colors incorporated in the painting and are much clearer after the tarnishing is reversed. And the paint layer has also settled down after full consolidation. These are the images of the front side of the painting before conservation and after conservation. These are the images of the back side of the painting before conservation and after conservation. INTACH Conservation Institutes are located at different parts of the country and are dedicatedly working on conservation and restoration of various forms of art objects, which range from paintings, textiles, wooden objects, stone objects, miniature paintings, and wall paintings. For further information, the details of the centers are provided here. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more information on conservation of different art forms that requires scientific expertise in conservation and restoration. You can also view our previous uploads, the second lecture on education and research in conservation restoration by Dr. Jayanta Jom, which is a part of ICI lecture series Conservation Insights 2020 and Conservation of Taxidermy by Lalit Kumar. Thank you for your attention.